Hello everyone, this is Cross. What I'd like to talk to you about today is my Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign. This is journal entry number 14. So, we have moved into, there was a little bit of debate on whether or not our characters were going to journey into this area, this fog-filled area. Okay, now what is important to note is that they had the option of going around, they had the option of going through, they had options, okay? Sure, this thing was in their path, but they could have just taken the wagon and tried to go skirt around the area. It would have made their trip a little longer, but that's the important takeaway. Give your players the options to do things. I feel that too often, the players do not have the power, whether or not you say they do or not, they don't actually have the power to make these choices in the game. Case in point, a lot of the Wizards of the Coast published material, if you go through and read, there are things that the book just expects that your players are going to be doing throughout the course of the campaign. Now, within these published adventures, they're in a book, and the book cannot be as open-ended as just reacting to what the players are going to do. You as the DM need to sort of funnel your players that sure they can kind of go off script a little bit, but eventually they need to come back. That is a way of doing things. However, it is not the only way of doing things. You can give your players ultimate freedom. And I have talked with several players that while they're having fun playing D&D, the storyline that's going on, maybe they're having a little bit more fun playing D&D than they are actually playing with this story that's basically forcing them down this path. The concept of D&D, the concept of I can do whatever I want, you kind of going into D&D saying, oh, I can do whatever I want. My imagination is my limit. But then kind of being funneled around kind of like a theme park, can be discouraging for some players who want to try. They just want to try to do things. They want to be just let loose. As DM, the way to move from the one aspect to the other. Now, again, anything that I say is in reference to somebody trying to move towards the more sandbox style game. If you're not trying to move towards that, then you can ignore a lot of what I say. I'm going based off what I see in forums and just general chats that I'm involved in. I will see a lot of comments where DMs feel that they're going towards a sandbox environment, but they aren't really getting there. And it kind of requires a little bit of pointing out to bring them over to that threshold. Having a full sandbox environment means that your players have complete authority over what their characters do. That means you've got to let go of the reins. You show them what's there. Some stuff gets thrown in their face. Sometimes the world just throws things in their face. But for the most part, players they walked up. This is a good example. In this episode, they walked up to this environment. It was right in their face. Okay? However, they still had a choice. Do we engage with this or do we not? That was their choice. I didn't make it for them. They had every opportunity to do. They could have turned around and went back. They could have, tried to skirt around the edge. Or, as they did, they went in. Okay, so this scenario is something that I was trying. I had been doing a lot of thinking about mass combat in general. Mass combat kind of came up a little bit. Matt Colville released his his Kickstarter for his book, and there's going to be a little bit about mass combat rules in there, I believe. But I was kind of thinking about mass combat in general, and I've started making a lot of decisions based on movie framing. So I'm picturing the scene in my head of these characters going into combat in a massive battlefield. Well, how does that influence these characters? Now, too tempted are we to pull out the camera, so to speak, and I'm just going to start referencing the camera as what you're looking at. What are you looking at? Are you looking at things from, say, a StarCraft 2 perspective? Are you way up high and watching the battle kind of collide between two forces? Is that where your narration is? How does that affect or influence the imagination of the players who may want to, okay, I understand that this fight's going on like that, but where is my character in this, right? Too often could we be lost in the style of mass combat in, we've got to make all these rules, we've got to make all these things, and yes, there are times and places for that, and I'm sure that players will enjoy it, but for the most part, mass combat might not actually have room at the table when your players are really just controlling that one character. Think about the mass combat in Lord of the Rings, for example. There was a lot going on, but the camera was focused on our individual heroes. So in thinking about that, taking the camera way up high and looking at the battlefield as a whole and giving them control over a bunch of different units, we kept the camera down from their perspective. Now, there was a few cool interactions. We had this fog that was enveloping. I had just described it as a fog. This area, it was eventually referred to as the Shattered Oblivion. This is if for those that didn't quite figure it out, the Shattered Oblivion is a plane of existence in my campaign world. It is another plane of existence. Okay, so in the normal D&D cosmology, another plane of existence would be the elemental plane of fire or the elemental plane of water. Well, I got rid of all those this time around. For this world, I wanted to design everything: the Pantheon, the planes of existence, the world. I wanted everything to be 100% my creation. The Shattered Oblivion being one of those planes of existence, and then I had someone's creating a character and everything. We're looking around, and all of a sudden there's this concept of the in the Xanathars, the Horizon Walker, and reading about that kind of made me think, oh, okay, these guys kind of fight against the planes or whatever. It spurred a bunch of it kind of delivered a lot of imagination in my brain, and so I turned and made the Horizon Walker a thing in my game. And what do they do? And I had already kind of created this event, this thing that was going on. However, I didn't quite 100% understand how it was working until I read this. And then I realized that I had all the answers. I had all the pieces of the puzzle. I just had to put them together. So the Shattered Oblivion being a plane of existence now shows up on the prime material plane. Now, this is a rift. This is basically the Shattered Oblivion trying to bleed into the prime material. And that's what the Horizon Walkers do. That's what Duke said. They try to shut down. So they're essentially Their entire existence is playing whack-a-moles with planar rifts. Well, putting it simply like that, okay, that's simple, but hey, man, that's kind of cool. That's a cool concept for your world. Now, in my world, what truth did I just say? Now, all the planar rifts that I had created can now open rifts in different pockets around the world and just start showing up. Okay, what is the normal limitation of the cosmology of D&D? The characters need to go there. Okay, they go there on their terms. Okay, they planar shift, or they have some sort of quest or something to venture to this other plane of existence. So I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, man, what if I just brought the plane to the world the other way around? So rather than having to go to the Shattered Oblivion to do an adventure, the Shattered Oblivion now, in this scenario, took the foundry away from the world. So now this location, this place that the characters kind of started, they were introduced to, they kind of cared about, now all of a sudden it's gone right now until this rift is closed. And moreover, it's completely optional. The players do not have to engage with this. Not right now. They might want to later, but they didn't have to do it right now. And that's kind of the big thing there. As far as moving through the rift, I had created a map, just kind of with some notes, if you will. It could have been on graph paper or something. I just had a blank sheet of paper, kind of like a regular piece of printer paper, and just kind of wrote down in a circular pattern a bunch of locations for different things. Where some of the army was, where the little tumors were that they kept killing. I kind of just, wrote these things down and then kind of kept my finger where the characters were currently located. And it wasn't intentional at first, but, when Eris Key started using the cloak, and I started thinking about, okay, you shift to the astral plane, I thought it would be cool for that brief moment, for that shift, for her to go to the astral plane, to clear out the fog, fog of war, to clear out the fog and get a good view of the battle, see what's going on. So her character can shift, look at what's going on, and then come back and say, okay, this is what I see. And then they can make an informed decision about what's going on. Again, unintentional, but in the moment, kind of giving her that power kind of gave the group a, okay, everything's like, we're not quite sure what we're going to run into, but for this brief period, we kind of get a brief snapshot of what's going on. And that's another takeaway, try to kind of give your players an opportunity to shine a little. Again, falling back on the fact that Callista kind of dropped this cloak. Why did that happen? Why did she give that cloak to Eris Key? Again, why did Merrick's give that scroll to Varen? And then all of a sudden, those two items kind of being key in being able to navigate this mess, starts breeding the question, did they know? Like, did these two deities know that we were about to encounter this? Did they give us the tools to be able to deal with this magic weapon? The creatures were completely immune to magic, or to non-magic weapons, or the idea, or silver weapons, which none of the characters have. So being able to bless Clara's pistol and allowing her to do damage, that was significant. So that is my takeaway from this session. giving the players the options, understanding mass combat and breaking it down to the players. Okay, you're here. North of you, you see this. Northeast, you see this. And keeping the camera down on them as they're going through this battlefield. They're seeing other groups fighting. Again, this was just a test of an idea that I had. And I think I'm going to run with it a little bit and just kind of see what I can do, doing mass combat for more of an over-the-shoulder type of framing, keeping the narration on the characters and just kind of narrating the rest of what they see. We'll see how it works from here on out, but we'll see you guys next time as well. As again, I'm recording on Saturday. I had a technical issue with my previous video, so I had to re-record that earlier in the week. And so now I'm back on schedule, and I think I had an idea for another video. I'm probably going to shoot that real quick. And we'll see you guys next time.